Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Jet. Welcome back to the episode of Inside Lines, and we are recapping the fallout that took place from NASCAR's historical race weekend in downtown Chicago. A lot of things happened. If you haven't watched the race, please make sure, go ahead and check it out right now. Stop the video, go and watch the race because it was Race of the Year candidate. What a race it was. So much fun to watch after what started, looked like to be a disaster, ended out with probably the best winner possible. SVG, Shane van Gisbergen, winning his very first Cup Series race and his first Cup Series start from New Zealand. Now, there were talks on his post-race interview where he said he has one more year of supercars and would love to come and race in NASCAR. Now, his boss, former legend, supercars legend Jamie Whincup, discussed about the move, and this is what was said.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's only contractually bound to us for next year. But me sitting here right now, of course, I'm trying to run the business as well as I possibly can. I need the best drivers. But if any driver, engineer, employee come to me and said, hey, I want to, my dream is to go to the other side of the world and do something else, then I'm not going to stand in their way, am I? I want to open up opportunities for all my staff.
If he strikes while the iron's hot and he comes to you and sits down with you after Townsville, which we'll touch on shortly, and goes, Jamie, there's an opportunity here. Can I get out a year early? You wouldn't stand in his way.
I certainly wouldn't stand in his way.
He is not going to get in the way. Jamie Whincup will not get in the way. He will allow SVG to leave Australian supercars a year early. Leave at the end of this year if a ride opens up for NASCAR in 2024. Now, the odds of that are very slim. I don't know. I just don't see a spot ready for SVG to come to NASCAR, especially if you want to come full time. I'm pretty sure SVG wants to get in, at least go into a part-time role, maybe get some Xfinity races under his belt before jumping in full time. At least that's, in my opinion, that's what I would do. But again, it determines onto what SVG wants. The thing is with SVG and the position that he's in is because NASCAR based the next gen car with a lot of information that they got from the current VA supercars that they're running today. That's where they built the next gen car. They got a lot of information and a lot of thought process on how to approach the new car from VA supercars. So for SVG to come over to America, race NASCAR full time in a car that was built based off of the car he's been driving for majority of his career, all of his career, that is scary for the competition. Now, obviously, there are things that are completely different about NASCAR racing on ovals, super speedways, and things like that. So that will be a difficult transition. But SVG on all the road courses, not only Chicago, but also Watkins Glen, COTA, Road America, the Roval, all those tracks, he will be a force to be reckoned with if he were to come to NASCAR full time. Now, which team would give him that opportunity is tough to say. I highly doubt Trackhouse would make the 91 car a full-time entry for him. Obviously, he would have a lot of publicity being an outsider, being from New Zealand. He could bring a lot of interest from New Zealand or from down under, like in Australia, where he competes for the VA Supercars, to America. He could bring a lot of publicity, maybe bring a lot of sponsorship over there. But right now, nothing has come to fruition on any teams that are a potential. He does have Red Bull by his side. We know Red Bull and Extreme Sports, they were in NASCAR before as a team. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Red Bull back in NASCAR in some capacity. So it'd be interesting to see how this all plays out with SVG coming to NASCAR. But I said this in my Sunday review. You could not have picked a better winner to not only have a historical race like Chicago, but to have an international winner like Shane van Gisbergen come in and win is incredible. And it's not a knock. I know I saw a lot of people that are saying that SVG winning is an embarrassment for NASCAR. I don't think that's true at all. I think that is a completely wrong way of looking at it. He's been driving on this his entire life. He has been driving on street courses for a long time. Majority of the drivers, of the Cup drivers, never even stepped foot on a street race in their entire life. So to really say that SVJ proved that NASCAR embarrassed NASCAR drivers, I don't think that's the case. He has more experience. He's more used to this element of driving than the Cup Series drivers are. Yes, they've gotten better, but with the street race, it played right into SVG's hands, in my opinion. So I don't think this is a knock on NASCAR drivers being bad. I think this is just showing how good of a driver he is. Because if y'all don't know Shane van Gisbergen, he is top 10 drivers all time currently at the moment. You put him in any car, he can win. So this is not a knock on NASCAR drivers. It's just he's a damn good driver. That's the only thing you can say about that. And a lot of people got to witness SVG's win because ratings came out today. And wow, a lot of us figured it'd be a big bump compared to Road America, the slot that Chicago took over. But I don't know if anyone expected this big of a bump. NBC Sports' coverage of the first Cup Series street race in Chicago averaged a total audience delivery of 4.795 million viewers on NBC and Peacock. That is the most watched NASCAR Cup Series race on NBC in 6 years since Indianapolis in 2017, and NBC Sports' 8th most watched race under its current rights agreement since 2015, and it is of course the most watched Cup Series race this season since the Daytona 500 back in February. Not only that, but it's also the most streamed NASCAR Cup Series race in NBC history with 163.5 thousand viewers across Peacock and other NBC Sports digital platforms. The race peaked at 5.383 million viewers from 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. when he took the checkered flag, and Chicago delivered a 9.29 rating and is expected to lead all markets once final local data is completed. The rating is more than 3 times what the market did for this year's Daytona 500, which was just a 2.99. So unbelievable numbers, and I think this solidifies NASCAR's future when it comes to street races, because this has opened up a Pandora's box on a lot of things. Number one, this shows that NASCAR can literally take their next-gen car anywhere in the world. It can take it from the shortest of tracks. It went to a quarter mile in LA, take it to the biggest tracks like Talladega, Daytona, can take it to dirt, can take it on road courses, take it on intermediates, and now it can go on street races. And Sunday proved just that you can take the next gen car anywhere in the world, which is awesome if you really think about it. This also solidifies NASCAR will be hosting street races in the long run. I genuinely believe that street races will now be a permanent part of NASCAR's future. Granted, it's only one race and I may be jumping the gun a little bit, but still, when you consider the hype, the people that were talking about NASCAR, people that you don't expect to talk about NASCAR, talking about this race, and in a positive light. There was a lot of criticism with the LA Coliseum. Some people liked it, some people didn't. But with Chicago, I barely saw any people really crap on the race on Sunday. You maybe crap on the event or because it was, the weather and all the controversy. But in terms of the actual race, I don't think I saw anyone on social media really complain about it. So I think this is something that NASCAR is going to be solidifying for the future, is racing on street races across America. Maybe even different parts of the world. I'm looking at you, Montreal. But now, of course, let's talk about the future of NASCAR in Chicago. Now, NASCAR did sign a 3-year deal to race in the streets of Chicago, but that was with the previous mayor, Lori Lightfoot. Now she's out of office. In place is Mayor Johnson. Now, before I get into what Brandon Johnson says about Chicago, I want to talk about, is what we saw on Sunday a trend, or is it going to be a permanent thing? Because we saw this in LA. When NASCAR first went to LA last year in 2022, LA had, I think, the highest market for a NASCAR race in 5 or so years, but it didn't translate to future races for the rest of the season. It didn't work. At least I don't think so. What is it going to be like this time around? This time it's a completely different. This is a 9.29 rating. This is a massive jump for NASCAR in Chicago in terms of the market. Is it going to translate next week to Atlanta, week after to like tracks like Michigan, the Indy Road Course? Is it going to translate for the rest of the year, and it will be a permanent thing for NASCAR to at least have a bigger presence in Chicago? Or was this just a one-time thing? I can tell you that if you look on the Chicago subreddit, a lot of people were praising the race, talking about how great the event was, how great and exciting the race was, and they might look into future NASCAR races down the line. Some of them became fans from this race. So that's all good, but is it going to translate for the rest of the season and maybe into 2024? That is yet to be determined. Now back to Brandon Johnson, Mayor Johnson. We talked about that 3-year deal. Now, when Brandon Johnson took over, he said that they were going to look over the contract that the city of Chicago made with NASCAR. Again, when it comes to street races, Chicago, the city of Chicago and city officials, they have the upper hand. If they want to, they can strike it down whenever they want. Now, talk about the evaluation process. Mayor Johnson said, quote, "Like everything else I inherited, I'm a teacher, so I will assess it and grade it, and it will be an open process where other folks get a chance to weigh in. I'm confident that the people of Chicago and our administration will come up with a way forward that is in the best interest for the entire city. We are very grateful that despite the extreme weather, that NASCAR was able to deliver with very minimal disruption. Now, if you want to talk about the deal that's in place, just a quick overview. The deal is not good if you look at it from this perspective of Chicago. It's less, NASCAR is paying less for it than what Lollapalooza pays for the city of Chicago. NASCAR would pay the city a rate of $2 per ticket sold, as well as a percentage of net commissions from beverage and other types of sales in the event. And NASCAR pays an annual fee of $500,000. So if you look at it from NASCAR's perspective, it's a fantastic deal. From the city of Chicago's perspective, not so much of a great deal. Despite what you think about the event, I love the street race in Chicago. I want NASCAR to return to Chicago. But if you're a city official, I won't be surprised if you maybe want to relook at the contract that he inherited. Now, I hope and I'm confident that the two will come up with an agreement. NASCAR spent, I think, north of $50 million for this race. When they come back next year, because they now know what they need, they don't need to spend, I don't think they're going to have to spend so much money now that they have everything in place for potentially next year. But if you want to talk about from the Chicagoans' perspective, the city of Chicago, they talked about minimal disruptions, talking about obviously street closures and different types of alternate routes that the people of the city had to navigate around while they were building the track. And I know there were some people that were frustrated with that. So maybe next time around for 2024, if they do return to Chicago, I think the NASCAR and Chicago officials will come up with a way to not only come up with a better contract that maybe helps both sides, but also come up with a contract that not only does that, but also helps the people that are living in the city to still be able to go to Grant Park, to still be able to go to the museums without any disruptions, if that's possible. Now, the thing is that if an agreement is made between the two parties, NASCAR would return to Chicago in 2024 on July 6th and 7th, which could be even more hectic considering the fact that they're doing this, they're going to be building the track during the 4th of July holiday, which could cause a bit of chaos. So I'm sure NASCAR and Chicago are going to work together to make sure that both parties would be satisfied and then make sure that at least the people that are in the city are able to still do what they want to do without having to be disrupted a lot. If an agreement is not made, and I think it will be made, but let's say hypothetically an agreement is not made about NASCAR return to Chicago, where would they go? Because this opened up, like I said, a huge Pandora's box on a lot of possibilities of where NASCAR could take this. We heard some rumblings that NASCAR was looking at maybe New York City as a possibility. Ben Kennedy has stated that NASCAR could be looking at maybe 2 street races in total for the season, that this may not just be one and only one in the season. They could be looking at another venue on top of Chicago down the line. You could look at maybe LA, look at Seattle, look at, who knows, Miami F1 doubleheader, that'd be something. You could look at maybe DC. You could look at there's a lot of places that NASCAR could look at maybe if, let's say, Chicago doesn't work out. We even had Pittsburgh outright say, like Pittsburgh sports officials say, they would love NASCAR to come and race in their city. So you have one that's outright said they want you. So it's going to be a very interesting process to see what's going to happen between NASCAR and Chicago, because I would love for it to return, and I think it will return. I think NASCAR Chicago could have a permanent say, since Chicagoans love their sports. They love their sports. And depending on how this goes, I think Chicago racing, NASCAR in Chicago, could be something that could be a fixture for Chicago sports. It could be something that, it's just a yearly summer tradition. Go to Grant Park and watch a NASCAR race. That could be something that could happen with Chicago down the line. I wouldn't be surprised, since how much of a diehard Chicagoans are about their sports. So I would love for it to stay, but if for some reason it doesn't, NASCAR does have a lot of options on their table if they want to take a street race. But they have to do it now, because you have a time frame that is not that long. It's just a year, about a year, which is not long to prepare for a new street race from scratch, to get the track right, talk with city officials, get everything that taken care of. It's a long process. So I know NASCAR wants to stay in Chicago, because if they can't, hosting another street race next year, completely new city, new everything like that, is going to be very difficult to handle. But that's it for this video. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Comment down below your thoughts on any of the stories I talked about. And until next time, my name is Jet from MBK. Thanks for watching.